Welcome to the Go to Win podcast with your hosts, Sophia Garcia and Taskin and Sophia. Tune in as we interview those affected by childhood cancer, gather perspectives, and to help others find comfort in their expertise. And joining us today, we have Jake and Dan from the Hear Your Song organization.
The Hear Your Song organization helps children and teens with illness have their voices heard through songwriting. Thank you so much for joining us today. Could you tell us a little about your organization and its mission?
Sure. So I'm Dan. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Hear Your Song. And Hear Your Song works with kids and teens ages 6 to 18 with a wide range of diagnoses, both physical health diagnoses, including cancer patients, and mental health diagnoses for kids to write their own songs about anything they want, and to fully produce songs with our a huge community of volunteers and musicians to really make every kid feel that their voice is being heard and their story is being told in the way that they want it to be.
So how did this organization come to be, and what inspired its creation?
So I co-founded the organization with my co-founder, Rebecca, when I was a sophomore in college at Yale University. And what really inspired it was we were looking for a way to bring a community of musicians together on campus and really have a way not to compete against each other, but to use our music for good and as a team. And we partnered with local children's hospitals to work with kids at bedside initially to really ensure that we were able to make every kid's dream for what their song would sound like come to life. So we'd bring their lyrics back to campus with their ideas for what instruments they wanted, what musical style they wanted, and then all the volunteers would sort of do recording sessions together where they'd bring those together. And then really at the start of the pandemic, which was 6 years after we first launched the student organization, we realized that it was the optimal moment to start growing the organization. So we began a virtual expansion, reaching kids really all over the country. We actually just had our first international session yesterday with the Sickle Cell Society in London. And we've been able to reach over 200 kids now in 27 states and 2 countries to help them make their voices heard and write songs about whatever they want, really with the goal of sharing with more folks all around the world the incredible voices and the incredible creativity and capacity of kids who are dealing with serious health challenges.
Is there a specific story that you would like to share in which a child has expressed gratitude for being able to write their own songs through your organization?
Yeah, I can share. I can share one in particular. This was my first kind of big experience working with a kid, and it was through a group virtual partnership. And this one kid, her name is Angelique, didn't have any songwriting experience, and she was kind of initially very shy at first in the songwriting process, didn't really know what to write about. And then once we told her, like, look, that you can literally write about anything you want. We've had kids write about food or their families or their favorite pets. And when I said pets, I saw her face kind of light up, and she was like, well, I love my cats. And I said, yeah, you could write about your cats. And she ended up writing this incredible song about her 2 cats, Miko and Mochi, and how they brighten up her day. And we were fortunate enough to receive a video message from Angelique afterwards, with her talking about how it, helped distract from the kind of messiness of what was going on in her life, and it kind of brought a light of joy, and kind of put a spotlight on something that doesn't usually get the spotlight, when someone like her is maybe dealing with a serious illness. So it was really, really wonderful to receive that.
Were any of you a part of like actual songs? Because I think from the website we've seen, I think one of you being a part of the song. And how is this experience like?
So yeah, Dan and I have both been a part of many of the songs. In my role over the past couple of months, I've been fortunate enough to work on the music for a bunch of the songs, and it's always a fun time, especially after we get to lead a songwriting session with a kid over Zoom, and then we get to be a part of bringing the song to life because we sort of have the closest relationship with what the kid wants musically. And sometimes it's fun. We get to, have a back and forth with a kid who has a really strong vision for the music. And so sometimes, I'll send, a recording of what I did, and the kid will be like, no, I want it to be slower, or like, I don't really like that instrument, which is so great because it, if anything, we like when we mess up because it gives the kid a chance to really hone in on their vision, and they get to um, be empowered even more to say what they really want their song to be.
So it seems like it's been overall like a pretty good experience, like running the organization. Would you say that there were any initial challenges when you started the organization? And can you?
Yeah, well, definitely. We started the organization at the start of the pandemic and at a time that a lot of nonprofits were really, really hurting, both financially and also just in terms of trying to run their programs that had been in person, switching to virtual and everything like that. And we sort of responded to the pandemic by expanding and sort of becoming an official nonprofit 501(c)(3) organization. And that has been a big challenge, not sort of initially because we knew going in that things were going to be virtual and that was sort of the model, and we were responding to a big need at the time that we saw. But I think as over the last 2 years, as you all know, the sort of discovery that things keep going and changes keep happening and we have to keep adapting, definitely that has made us change our model a lot. We thought we were going to be back in person in hospitals much sooner, but it's actually meant that we have been able to make virtual programming work really successfully for kids, and it's meant that we can more easily schedule sessions with families whenever they're free over Zoom. And it's meant that we can work with kids really from all over. Like we just had this partnership in London. We're starting a partnership in Ireland and Canada, so we can really reach kids wherever they are. So it's been a huge challenge for sure, but it's also allowed us to reach people in a way that we probably wouldn't have thought to if we had been able to do everything in person and everything the way that things used to be.
So it seems like the pandemic did have an effect on the organization. Do you have any advice that you would like to give to other nonprofit organizations that might have went through the same situations throughout the pandemic?
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like, since I was not running a nonprofit before the pandemic, I don't know if I feel like I have any advice to give to people who are probably much more uh, experienced in pre-pandemic nonprofit running than I am. But I think I would say that because we came in already, we started out being flexible from the very beginning and knowing we would have to be flexible. So I think that sort of, I would say, advice for people who are thinking about starting a nonprofit would be know that it's okay to have one idea of what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like and how it's going to run, and then sort of be like really responsive to the situations that come up and be willing to change and try new things. And that's actually kind of how we run our songwriting sessions with kids too. When we get into a session, we really follow kids wherever they want to take their songwriting process. So if they say, actually, I want to sing on my song, or actually, I want like 5 sessions to like really go deep into the music composition part, like we're willing to say, oh, that wasn't what we thought we were going to be doing, but like we're willing to follow wherever makes the most sense for your song to come to life.
Do you think that the pandemic has significantly impacted the experience between the songwriters and the kids, like compared to virtual and then like what it used to be, which was live sessions?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we found is the trade-off of, getting to reach more families, more states, more countries, all that, is that one thing Dan and I have talked about is the kind of inter-community between the songwriters is, I think, something that we've been trying to cultivate more. We recently had a couple of virtual songwriter showcase events, which we affectionately call Cheer Your Song, where it was kind of the first time that we got to bring songwriters together from different partnerships, different states, and I think seeing them interact over Zoom was really, really cool because we got to be like, oh, we've made all these songs, and we just really, and these kids all have the same experience working with Hear Your Song. that we want them to share with each other. So, we've been talking about creating maybe like a peer songwriting group. And we're really hoping that our kind of social media can be a hub where kids can support each other and kind of see other songs, and so yeah, but building that community, I think, has been maybe a bit more difficult with the virtual model, but it's certainly something we're excited to continue cultivating going forward.
So, do you believe that this interaction and also a huge part in our daily lives right now, social media, has helped the nonprofit organization grow since its creation? And what do you believe contributed to the growth of the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we certainly have grown. I mean, we've recruited volunteers through reaching out on social media. We've loved engaging volunteers by getting them to support our kids through social media, and I think it's been um, a wonderful way to get people just engaged with the organization. Every time we reach out to new partners or schools, we always send clips from songs that we put on social media. A big part of what we do is also making lyric videos of each song that we put on YouTube, and that's kind of the best way that we get to share the music. We also recently started putting music on Spotify, so if you're interested in hearing some of the songs, you can search "Hear Your Song" and all streaming platforms, not just Spotify. But yeah, so yeah, Dan, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think also it seems like maybe a small thing to put a comment or like on a social media post, but for the kids who have put their songs out and are really excited to have their song on YouTube or have their interview on Instagram or something like that, it makes a huge difference when they see that people they don't even know from another part of the country or the world are commenting and listening. So we've loved really just building a community of audience members and listeners and friends who show up on social media to cheer kids on, because it's like having an audience, and it's not just invisible people, but people that actually are sharing their feedback and letting kids know that they're being heard and that their voices matter.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so just I was going to share one little story connected to that. We had like a digital amplification event a couple weeks ago, and one of our volunteers who was there, was going through our Instagram page and found a song that really resonated with her, and it was a song about one of our songwriters wrote about their incredible relationship with their mom, and so she wrote this comment on the post about how much it meant to her to hear the song, and that is sort of, as Dan was saying, is what we love to see, is just these kind of connections, and then getting to share those comments and connections with the families, knowing that their songs that they wrote with us does have impact beyond just you know the the organization itself.
So, outside of social media, do you think there are any other factors that have contributed to the expansion and growth of your organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have worked really hard to reach out to lots of organizations. So we partner with children's hospitals, but we also partner with other nonprofits that sort of focus on specific diagnoses. There are lots of organizations all over that are sort of diagnosis specific. So we've partnered with like the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation and Mito Action, which supports people with mitochondrial disorders. We're about to start a partnership with the Immune Deficiency Foundation. But then also sort of our biggest numbers in terms of reaching kids has been through camp programs. There are amazing camps all over the country too that have kids with a wide range of diagnoses. And because we've been working with them mainly virtually, that's meant that we have been able to reach a lot of kids all over and meet a lot of new communities. So definitely, and a lot of that outreach has been through social media too, but also just through like meeting new people and getting connected to others. Our goal has really been just to get known by as many people as we can, so that more families will share our information, our website with other families, so we can reach as many kids as we can. And I should also mention that all of our programs are free for families and kids and the organizations we partner with. So it's really important to us that we make sure that people know that there's no financial constraint on kids' ability to write a song with us and sort of go through the whole process and take the lead on something creative like this.
What goals do you have for the next few years? And what do you feel that you have to prioritize? And what barriers do you think might stand in the way?
Wow, that's a great three-part question. So I think one of our big goals, I'll a small goal that actually felt like a really big goal, but we've actually sort of already begun to achieve it, is, which I thought would take longer, was to start having kids who have written a song with us sort of give back by creating their own college chapter or becoming a volunteer. And we actually had one amazing songwriter, Alex, who wrote a song with us about a year ago, and is now first year in college, has been volunteering with us this year and is hopefully going to start her own chapter in Texas. So it's been absolutely amazing that we've already sort of seen people that we've had impact on give back and sort of take the organization forward. So that was a big goal. That it continues to be a big goal. I think we would love really to, as Jake mentioned, sort of continue to build that volunteer community and make people feel really connected as musicians to being part of this, and make it really exciting for volunteers to be part of the Hear Your Song community and keep building ways to engage our volunteers, but also doing the same thing with kids. So we've had a couple, Jake, maybe you want to tell the story of a friendship that bloomed from Hear Your Song, but we love when kids can meet each other through Hear Your Song, and really being able to feel like they have friends out there across the country who are also writing songs. Jake, do you want to tell that story? And then I can talk about barriers if you want.
Yes. No, so we had two kids who, Elliot and Charlotte, who met during a virtual group session through one of our partnerships, and they didn't know each other, but they met in the Zoom room. They were, I think, chatting with each other in the Zoom chat about High School Musical, the series, and they exchanged like emails and phone numbers and ended up starting this long distance friendship. One of them lives, in the Midwest. One of them lives on the West Coast. So they have this beautiful, like, I think they talk like, almost every day. And so they came to us a couple months after that virtual session wanting to write a song together. So we had a Zoom songwriting session with the both of them, and they came in with this exact idea of what they wanted the lyrics to be, and it was all about their friendship and how they met. And one of my favorite moments of the session was they kept building up what the last line of the song was going to be, and they were like, "Oh, just you wait, it's going to be great." And the last line of the song is like, "Thank you, Hear Your Song," which was very, very lovely to hear. And so if I could bottle up that moment and have it happen for all of our partnerships or a bunch of our other songwriters, that would be the dream of all dreams.
So based on everything you guys have talked about, it seems like you really enjoy the songwriting process. So what part do you enjoy most, do you think? And also, like, what part do you think is the most impactful for the kids?
Well, I think for me, because I've now probably led sessions with like hundreds of kids, a lot of kids. I think the thing that I enjoy the most is the way that every session really does feel like completely different and completely fresh, because kids and teens, but often younger kids especially, come in with such different ways of approaching this process and expressing their creativity. And it kind of, often when I'm leading a session with a new volunteer, I'll say, like, every session, wow, like, sessions don't usually go like this, because every session is so different. And you can just learn so much about the kids you're working with, and just, I feel like it's such a fun way to just get to know a person of any age, to help them sort of create something that's entirely theirs and that's entirely their vision and their process, and we really just follow their lead, while also sort of lending our own musical talents give them ideas along the way. I think one of the pieces of the process that's most impactful that I wasn't really expecting was, as Jake mentioned, we started doing these virtual Cheer Your Song events, and we hadn't previously sort of had been able to watch our songwriters kind of live reacting and talking about their experience and feeling like totally recognized by this audience of people who are on there and like writing. We do it on Zoom webinars, so like writing compliments in the chat and like getting live feedback from audiences. And I think that's been a real we're able to sort of see that impact live, and to see how much it means to the songwriters to have a venue to share their songs and also to talk about what their songwriting processes were like. So that's been a really particular moment of impact that we've been able to see. Jake, what's your favorite part of the process?
My favorite part is probably the kind of moment where, if a kid is struggling to come up with a topic, and once they come up with that topic, just hearing them talk about it for however long they want, and once they really get into it, and once they like sense that, oh, these random people who I don't know actually want to hear me talk about my pets or my favorite video games or this story I made up. And I think that moment when they feel like, oh, this is my time to share what I'm really passionate about, and there's no judgment, there's nothing like that, that makes me really happy, just knowing that they feel like they can talk about it without any judgment.
What aspect are you so far the most proud of for this organization?
Jake, do you want to answer that first?
Sure. I mean, I sort of came in many years after Dan started it, but I think since I've started working for the organization, I think the Cheer Your Song showcases, I think has been one of my more proud moments. Just getting to see all the kids bond and speak so passionately, and one of our kids, when we were kind of meeting in the Zoom room right before the event started, we asked, like, how's everyone feeling? Are you excited to share your songs? And she goes, well, I think this is probably one of the most important moments of my life. Well, since I was born. And it was just a really, really wonderful moment. It was like, oh yeah, they really, this is important to them, getting to share their stories like this with their family and fellow songwriters. So that's been one of my favorite moments. What about you, Dan?
I think one of the things I'm proudest of, there's a lot, but I think one of the things that we haven't really talked about that much is we have these 6 campus chapters. As I mentioned, we started out as a student organization at Yale University, and we have these 6 chapters that are student-led at different colleges around the country, and really seeing those student leaders take ownership of their chapters and really helping grow communities there. Like, for example, yesterday we had this session where one of our breakout rooms was led by one of our chapter leaders from 2 different colleges, and just kind of peeking in and seeing them leading sessions and feeling so confident, to feel that we've created something that is sort of replicable and that other people can bring to kids in their community is really empowering for us and for me. I think to feel that we have something that isn't just about the people who came up with the idea, but is something that is spreading and can continue to spread and be shared more widely.
So I think you touched on how recently you've started to like think about expanding to like London and Ireland. So how do you hope and plan to further expand Hear Your Songs reach on a nationwide and also global scale?
Great question. Well, actually, we're doing a lot of focus right now as things are coming back in person. We're based in New York City, so we're doing a lot of work to sort of build our relationship locally, actually, sort of right now, to sort of put down roots in New York with local hospitals and local organizations. We're actually right now piloting a partnership with autistic elementary schoolers in a public school in the Bronx, which is sort of beyond the population we've mainly been focusing on, but that's something that was important to us to sort of explore how our model could adapt to the needs of those kids. So we're excited to start building more sort of local partnerships there. And then I think we're trying to also build communities where we've worked, because since we've worked with kids in so many different states, trying to reach their sort of health communities and other families in their areas, and sort of follow the kids that we already have. There are tons and tons of organizations and hospitals all over, obviously. Another big focus of ours is there are lots of diagnoses that specifically affect kids of color or marginalized communities, including sickle cell. And so that's been a big focus of ours, because that sickle cell in particular is a diagnosis that often goes underdiagnosed, and there's all sorts of discrimination in treatment of sickle cell patients, and definitely less access to programs like ours than for other diagnoses. So we're trying to make sure that we're supporting that community, especially in some of our partnerships. But as we continue to expand, really being thoughtful about trying to reach as many people as we can, while also making sure that every kid that we work with has a really personal and individualized experience that really allows them to feel like they've been fully heard, and that their song has been created exactly as they wanted it to be.
I find it inspiring that one thing you mentioned was the idea that this organization it includes everyone, people of color, marginalized groups. And I feel like that's an important topic, because previously Sophie and me have talked about this, and we've done research on it, and how people of color and just globally, it's been affecting children with cancer. And I feel that like this is such an important thing for organizations to have. So it's really inspiring to see that another organization has that same goal.
Yeah, I agree. And also, just like for anyone listening and interested in possibly getting involved, can you share how they can get involved to either write a song with Hear Your Song or to volunteer with Hear Your Song?
Yeah, so anyone interested in volunteering with us, or if they want to write a song with us, can go to our website, www.hearyoursong.org/connect. And for those interested in volunteering, there's a little tab on that page that says, for volunteers, and you can fill out a Google form, and then we will get in touch with you. And there's the same thing if for kids and families, there's a little tab for that, and you can sign up on a Google form for a songwriting session.
And if you're a volunteer, or if you're just an audience member who wants to give some feedback to kids and learn more, we actually had a number of Cancer Kids First volunteers recently join us to give lots of feedback to kids on our social media. So our Instagram and most of our handles on social media is at Hear Your Song HYS. So you can visit those social media pages, especially Instagram, and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/hearyoursong. And you can follow and subscribe, and also leave some comments, because kids will actually see the feedback that you're sharing. If they're not on social media themselves, we'll forward messages onto them. And it makes a really big difference when they get messages from people from all over.
So thank you so much for joining us today. We're glad that you came on here, took your time to talk about your organization. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
If you or someone you know are looking to support childhood cancer patients and help them to experience a better childhood but are stuck on how, Cancer Kids First may be the answer for you. Cancer Kids First is a nonprofit organization started by high schooler Olivia Zhang that aims to improve the childhoods of cancer patients. Through volunteer work, donations, fundraising, and the creation of this podcast, those working with Cancer Kids First work to further its mission. If you're interested, go to www.cancerkidsfirst.org/get involved to get involved.
Another way to support the mission of Cancer Kids First is to listen to this podcast and follow us on our Instagram and TikTok at the Go Rim Podcast, and Twitter at TGR_on-air. You can also get in touch with us through our email, thegodrimpodcast@gmail.com. Episodes will be airing 2 times a month. Before we end the episode off, we want to give our Sunday trivia shoutouts. Every other Sunday, we host trivia on our Instagram story, and participants that play to the end get shout-outs in our next podcast episodes. To play, make sure to check out our Instagram at the Go to Win Podcast. This week's shout-outs are Leah W _Candy8, Gello _X, Emda Anya _1, Pretty _XOXO Girl, Anya Sony, Hilda Jean, Lucas _Chloe, Lexi Skibilia, Pro Kid and Hater, MDNTSN SHN, A1 Ain _, Emma Sherman 1, _R.Hl, OOO.One, Emily.Lee, Alexis Dominic _, Sabna Dance 1, Mary.Catherine, K _Mater, Harini P, Daniela Viles _, Samalti Tisfay _, M _Patel 2008, Michelle _Lilac, Kira Siegel, Kate _Denk, Yara Salman, and Ashley.Phillip.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Go to Win Podcast.
If you have any ideas for or want to be involved with future episodes, make sure to check out the link in our Instagram bio.
Have a nice day, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.